County Planning Commission, June 15, 2023. Meeting is called to order. We have a hybrid meeting, and I'm going to read about how to address this hybrid meeting. Today's meeting is a hybrid meeting of the Planning Commission with participants both in person and digitally. The public may participate digitally in meetings by sending comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org or orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comment will be made available to the commissioners, staff, and the general public after processing by staff and can be viewed as attachments to this meeting's agenda on the Planning Commission agenda page. To submit comments via telecomment, please use the telecomment form found at www.mendocinocounty.org/government/planning-building-services/meeting-agendas. And may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ramos?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Pollan?
Here.
Chair Wiedemann?
Here. Is there determination of legal notice?
All matters on the agenda have been properly noticed.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to invite our director. Does she have anything to add to this agenda?
There we go. All right, sorry. It had to connect. Thank you. Good morning. Julia Krog, Planning and Building Services Director. I do not have a director's report for you this morning, but I am available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. So the matters from public, agenda item number 4. Members of the public are welcome to address the Planning Commission on items not listed on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is prohibited by law from taking actions on matters not on the agenda. Individuals wishing to address the Planning Commission under matters from the public may do so via email or Zoom. For information on these methods, call the Planning and Building Department at 707-234-6650 or visit mendocinocounty.org/government-building-services/meeting-agendas. All correspondences will be attached to the item and made available online on the Planning Commission agenda page. If any members of the public logged into Zoom meeting wish to speak under public expression and have not completed the telecomment form, please use the raise hand feature to allow staff to add you to the meeting. Instructions for using the raised hand features are found on the agenda for this meeting. Do we have any telecomment?
I have no members of the public on Zoom for telecomment.
All right, thank you.
And Chair Wiedemann, I would recommend checking in room as well.
Do we have any comments from the public? Doesn't appear we do, or do we?
I believe it's for items on the posted agenda.
Yes, that's what I thought. Okay. Agenda item number 5, consent calendar. This is the Planning Commission meeting for June 1st, 2023. Are there any revisions or comments regarding minutes from my fellow commissioners? Seeing none, do I have, are there any public comments for the June 1st, 2023 Planning Commission meeting? Seeing none, I invite a motion from the Commission.
I move that we approve the minutes of June 1st.
Do I have a second?
Do we need to approve the minutes or the whole consent calendar?
Oh, sorry. I think that is the only thing on the consent
but
calendar. The whole consent calendar, then.
I will second the motion to approve the consent calendar.
I invite a motion. Could we have roll call?
Commissioner Pollan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos,
Yes.
Chair Wiedemann.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Moving on to agenda item number 6A, which is our regular calendar. Case number U 2022-001, major use permit for installation of a shotgun rifle and pistol firearms range on existing Shamrock Ranch. Director, I believe this is being requested for a postponement.
That is correct. Yeah, the staff has requested that this item be continued to a date certain. There's a memorandum that was posted for this and distributed to the Planning Commission. And the chair may see if
Right.
there's any individuals in the audience that wish to provide any comment on this, and staff can also provide a brief summary of the project if you so desire.
Right, and seeing that there are members in the audience, does anybody wish to speak at this time on this item, the major use permit request for the Shamrock Ranch? And I have are you, please come and speak to the mic. State your name.
Lumpkin, Kirk Lumpkin.
Okay.
As adjacent property owners, our primary concern with this project is noise. In the staff report for a major use permit, in the key issues section, it states that such use will not, under the circumstances of that particular case, constitute a nuisance or to be detrimental to the health, safety, peace, morals, comfort, etc. The noise created by guns being fired at Shamrock Ranch is already a nuisance that disturbs our peace and makes us less comfortable. A firing range would tend to exacerbate this situation. Sometimes it already sounds like there is a firing range over there, when we have to listen to shot after shot being fired in rapid succession. We request 2 small concessions from the Planning Commission. Before issuing Shamrock a permit, require them to do a sound test so that neighbors can hear for themselves what it will be like. If you issue a permit without such a test, and it is immediately clear it is an extremely annoying nuisance, our only recourse would be to sue Shamrock, a very expensive and time-consuming process, whereas a sound check could be easily be done without great expense. Secondly, we would also ask of you to limit the hours of operation. We regard the requested 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. is outrageously extreme. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. seems like a reasonable time, and it seems to us that 9 to 5 should be the absolute maximum that should be allowed. Shamrock Ranch manager told one of my neighbors that he thought the gunfire we hear now would likely be coming from their neighbors to the west. But those neighbors would be on the other side of Highway 101 when the gunfire I now hear is almost always coming from the direction of the proposed firing range. Sean also told my neighbor that the firing range would only be for the use of the foreign nationals that own Shamrock, but there will be nothing stopping them from allowing their hunting resort clients to also use the firing range. I would ask you as persons, individuals, how would you and your spouse and family like to have a firing range next to where you live? Particularly one that potentially could run for 13 hours a day.
Thank you.
Any questions or?
Are there any questions from fellow commissioners?
Well, I think normally during public testimony, we don't ask questions of the public.
Okay.
Yeah, but thanks for coming in.
I believe one of my other neighbors also.
Yes. I have a request from Susan Cruz to speak. And please state your name, please.
My name is Susan Cruz. I'm also a neighbor.
Pardon me. Could you just pull the mic a little bit closer to your mouth? Thank you.
Hi, I'm also a neighbor, and I live in the subdivision that he lives in. And I don't know why they let people shoot guns because they're so annoying. You know, we moved from the city where we didn't have guns. We moved to the country, and sometimes you have to listen. You know, we moved to this subdivision, especially because where we used to live in Garberville, there was so many guns that we moved to this subdivision because we don't allow shooting guns on our subdivision. There's like 40 or 50 parcels, and we don't allow that there, so we're all not gun people. And it just makes your dogs freak out. It harms the wildlife, and I can't imagine having to listen to that all day long. You know, it's bad enough when you hear it a few shots here, a few shots there. But, and then I think they should try a day and see how it works. But sometimes you have to worry about the wind, because we live next to that Grist Creek asphalt plant, and about 2 miles away. And sometimes when the wind is blowing towards my house, it bounces off of my garage, and it's like a big truck is driving up down my driveway for hours. So the wind has a lot to do with it. Not only if they're shooting north, but it has to do with the wind. And I hope that you maybe do a practice run to see how it goes, because I really feel bad for the neighbors and that have to listen to the guns all the time, because it's not really a gun community. So we hope you check everything out first before you let them have a, permit to do that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I have another Leslie Gravier. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Leslie Gravier. I border the Shamrock Ranch, not very far from 101. I'm actually right on 101, so Shamrock Ranch is east of us. And I hear gunshots there always. I have to agree that I think that a noise should be done, noise testing should be done. I spoke with Sean. He basically, told me the same thing that he had told this other gentleman. And I'd like to see all of you take a really good close look at that. Sean had some very viable ideas and great things for gun safety for the kids, all of that, which I think is very honorable. At the same time, my dream, my grandparents bought that property in 1945. I just inherited that property. My dream is to put my long-term home there, and if we're going to put a shooting range there, that will not be my dream to ever come true, because I listened to, he says that it was Campbell's, it's Shamrock Ranch. That's who we hear the gunfire from. So I would really like you guys to dig deep. I don't necessarily think that stopping the project is a viable thing, but I think some limitations on that would be very needed, for the reasons that there's 20 owners in Shamrock Ranch. They come at various times. Sean has a great youth program he wants to put together. You can see it building. It's not open to public per se, but it will be open to public. So I'd like you to really look through that and think of us as you do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak to this item on Shamrock Ranch in the audience? If not, I will close the public.
If I may, could we just check online as well, too? Because there are some attendees online.
Is there, I don't see any hands up, but I'll ask. Do we have anybody speaking?
We have no members of the public online.
All right. Yes, Matt.
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, just to note, we didn't technically open a public hearing. I think we've heard public comments.
Right.
They would be part of the public record.
Yes,
So
yes.
there's no need to do anything more
We don't have to
specific
close
on
it.
that. We're just
Right.
they're looking at a motion for continuance if the commission does.
Right. Sure.
Do we know why?
You please come up and state your name again.
My name is Kirk Lumpkin. Do we know why this has been continued? And I mean, those of us who wanted to comment in person were not notified. So I came all the way down here, and that's sort of disrespectful that they discontinue without
Right.
notifying
I
the
hear-
the affected parties. And anyway, it's,
Good point. And let's ask our director why it was continued.
Absolutely. So the item is being requested to be continued to allow staff to do some additional analysis within the documents that were prepared for today's meeting, based upon both comments received as well as making sure that all documentation is compliant with county codes and regulations. I am apologetic to the public that drove down here. The continuance was only determined a couple days ago when we realized that there was needed additional time to be able to address some of the concerns that were raised. And a public notice, a mailed notice, would not have reached any members of the public in time. That's why we posted the request for continuance on our public website. So just for the future, I encourage the public, if they have access to internet, to be able to look there to confirm that there's no update memos or requested continuances for projects before making the trip down.
will you be notified of the next date?
Right.
Well, hasn't it already been noticed?
Wait.
for a
You
date?
haven't been noticed.
true, thank
So Commissioner Jones?
I have two thoughts. One is, I'm assuming you're going to maybe take another look at the MND, and if you could require the applicant to submit a noise study as part of that to help inform this issue that's been identified. And I'm assuming that's what you're probably going to do anyway, but I just want to put it out there.
Commissioner Pollan?
I thought that in the staff memo, this had been set for a date certain of, no, it has not.
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, that's the request by staff, is for the commission to set it for a date certain of July 20th, but that won't actually happen until the commission takes that motion.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, I'll just respond that if the commission does continue to a date certain, there is not additional public notice that occurs. If you choose not to continue to a date certain, then staff would re-notice the project for a future hearing date.
Thank you. With that, I want to have a motion for continuance from one of the commissioners.
Can I ask a question first?
Sure.
Okay. Does the July 20th date give you enough time to get a noise study completed and revise the CEQA document? I'm not sure it would.
I cannot say with absolute certainty.
Yeah. So given that, maybe we should shoot for an August date, just if we're going to continue the hearing or just not continue the hearing.
I think we have to leave it open if we don't put a date.
Right.
And therefore, then everybody would get notified again, correct?
Correct.
All right. So do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'd move to to close the hearing and renotice the hearing for a future date once the environmental document is revised.
We didn't open it.
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, I guess I don't know that no one has reviewed a mitigated neg deck. The item hasn't been reviewed in front of staff. I'm not sure the commission can give direction to revise a document that wasn't discussed at all at this point in time. The goal was to continue it to a date certain. If it's to a date uncertain, we can notice it for that point in time. But I'm not sure we can do much more on the giving direction to staff to do more work on the staff report without discussion.
Do you guys want to have some discussion?
No, I think I am going to entertain a motion per either or what County Counsel just said.
I move that we continue the hearing to a date uncertain.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Can I have roll call vote?
Commissioner Ramos,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Pollan,
Yes.
Chair Wiedemann.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you for coming in, and I'm sorry you didn't get notified in time, but you will now. All right. With that, let's move on to item number 6B of our regular calendar, case U 2022-0007, minor use permit for indoor cannabis cultivation type C-A, 2,500 square feet. Ag 2022-0003, site of no more than 2,500 square feet of canopy per MCC section 20.242.060 in parentheses C. At all times, the subject property is limited to a total cultivation canopy of 25,000 square feet. I am going to open the
Pardon me, Chair Wiedemann, I just want to correct, that's 2,500 square
Oh.
feet rather than 25,000.
Oh, thank you. 2,500 square feet, yes. That would be a lot. So, yes. All right. I'm going to open the public hearing, and is there any correspondence and telephone calls received at this point?
All correspondence have been posted to the website.
And is there anybody, anybody in the audience who wants to speak to this? No, it actually says no. But we could. What?
Yes, let's please start with a staff report.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so.
Got a faulty script.
I got a faulty script. Sorry. So may we have staff presentation, please?
Yes, Mark Kleiser, Planner 2 and planner on this project. I am going to share screen. There we go. Excellent. Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. As noted, this project is for a 2,500 square foot indoor cannabis cultivation site. A minor use permit, as this one is requiring, is typically under jurisdiction of the zoning administrator. However, per Mendocino County Code Section 20.196.010, the zoning administrator may refer items to the Planning Commission or Board of Supervisors for consideration. So here we are today. The project is located approximately 3.6 miles east of Mendocino Town Center, lying on the south side of Little Lake Road, approximately 0.1 miles east of its intersection with Outlaw Springs Road. It is addressed at 8261 Outlaw Springs Road, Mendocino, parcel number 119-49019. Elevations at the site range from approximately 745 feet above sea level to 660 feet. The average slope is approximately 1.5%, and the proposed project location is nearly flat, as you will see in upcoming site photos. The site is located in a high fire hazard zone and is within CAL FIRE protection area as well as Mendocino Fire Protection District. Staff contacted both CAL FIRE and Mendocino Fire Protection District on October 6, 2022, and again on March 14, 2023. CAL FIRE responded, noting the applicant will be required to maintain defensible space of 100 feet from front, rear, and sides of the proposed structure. There were no comments from the Mendocino Fire Protection District. The project site is bordered by Jackson State Forest to the north and east. A freshwater forest shrub wetland is situated approximately 665 feet west of the project site. Structures on the parcel include a 1,300 square foot single-family home, which is located right here. This includes 3 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, and a kitchen. A 460 square foot guest cottage, which is right over here. This is a studio. There is no bathroom, but there is a sink in there. And finally, a 420 square foot cabin over here. This is 1 bedroom. There is a bathroom and a kitchen in this structure. There's also a carport and a shed on site. There are 2 septic systems on the project, one for the cabin and one for the single family home. Both are permitted. It should be noted that the current septic system will not be used for wastewater from the indoor cultivation site. Instead, wastewater will be collected into an on-site 2,500 gallon holding tank and hauled off-site per State Water Board policy. The project proposes a 5,000 square foot engineered steel building for indoor cultivation. This building will require all necessary permits from Building Inspection Division. The applicant will use a charcoal filtration system on exhaust fans. The structure will not include glass siding or glass roof. As such, lights will be used lights used rather for cultivation will not encroach outside of the structure and onto adjacent parcels. All outdoor lighting will be downcast and on timers. Conditions of approval have been included to mitigate odor and ensure odors from activities will not extend beyond the structure and that lights will not encroach onto adjacent properties. The applicant will be required to provide a lighting plan to Planning and Building Services prior to initial cultivation activities, demonstrating that proposed cultivation area will not deliver or have the potential to deliver light pollution during the hours of sunset to sunrise for the benefit of adjacent properties and wildlife. Electricity and gas are provided by existing utility companies, and the applicant is in the process of obtaining solar power for the property. Staff visited the site and found it to be well maintained. We have a picture here of the entrance to the project area, which is back in here. You can see it's flat and the road is well maintained. This is a photo of the 420 square foot cabin, and this is the well house and pump. Here is a photo just of the trees surrounding the project area. You can note how dense they are and how difficult it would be to see any building from adjacent parcels. And here are some pictures of the project area where the engineered building will go, and you can see how flat it is, which will require minimal grading. And also clear vegetation, so there will be no vegetation removed for the construction of the building. The project is located in an area designated as Critical Water Resources Bedrock and is currently served by a permitted well. The applicant is proposing installation of two 2,500-gallon water storage tanks. One will store well water and the other will be used for rain catchment. Mendocino County Code 10A 17.080C1 states that Phase 3 applicants, which is this project, shall demonstrate there is adequate water to serve the cultivation site. If that water is not influenced by surface water, such as a well, the applicant can submit a water availability analysis which will address the adequacy of water for the project, direct effect to adjacent users of the project, and possible cumulative impacts on the water supply. The applicant has submitted a water availability analysis which demonstrates these 3 points, and I will address that in an upcoming slide. Similarly, Mendocino County Code Section 20.242070D4 states that for any new cannabis cultivation site not located in the agricultural zoning district, the application must contain evidence there is adequate water supply in the watershed. This is not on an ag parcel, and the applicant has submitted the water availability analysis that demonstrates this. So, per the water availability analysis here, dated May 27, 2022, and prepared by Lawrence and Associates, it is anticipated the project will require 570 gallons of water per day. The analysis also notes the residence uses approximately 540 gallons of water per day. As such, total groundwater demand for the project site will be approximately 0.8 gallons per minute. As required by 10A 17.080C1, the analysis notes there will be no interference to neighboring parcels. The nearest off-site residence is approximately 500 feet from the project. The analysis also notes that there will be adequate water for the project and that cumulative effects on the project and on the watershed would not be significant. And I believe the hydrologist who wrote the report is here today to answer any questions. The project is consistent with both the general plan and zoning designation for rural residential 10-acre minimum. This parcel is a legal non-conforming 5.5-acre parcel. R10 parcels are intended for small-scale farming per the general plan and for agricultural use compatible with permanent residential use. And section 20.242.010 echoes this intent, and it states its objective is to allow the cultivation of cannabis in locations that are consistent with the intent of the base zoning district. And Mendocino County Code Section 20.242060 requires that a minor use permit be obtained for cannabis cultivation of type CA, small indoor artificial light, for RR10 parcels, and that's here in the table 2. Finally, Mendocino County Code Section 20.242070D requires special findings be made. Staff has referred the project to the Mendocino County Cannabis Department and received comments noting that the project is in full compliance with the provisions of 10A17. And staff finds that the project would not exceed slopes of 15%, and the indoor cultivation structure would not result in the removal of additional trees or vegetation. And based on a review of the application and supplemental materials, staff finds that the project would avoid and minimize odor and light impact on residential uses, as all setbacks for development will be achieved, and that the nearest resident is over 100 feet from the cultivation area. Additionally, condition of approval 31 requires the applicant install the filtered ventilation system. And based on review of the May 27, 2022 evaluation of adequacy of groundwater supply, prepared by Lawrence and Associates, the applicant has demonstrated adequate water supply in the watershed and water rights to serve the cultivation site. And condition of approval number 2 requires the period for this use permit to 10 years and requires the applicant renew prior to the expiration date of June 15, 2033. Additionally, the project is required to meet use permit findings per Mendocino County Code 20.196.020. These findings, as they relate to conformity with the general plan, presence of adequate utilities, access road, drainage, and other necessary facilities, detriments to health, safety, peace, morals, comfort, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood, and integrity of the zoning district can all be made. Conditions for environmental protection have been added, which restrict vegetation removal beyond that which is required by CAL FIRE for fire suppression. And an archaeological survey prepared by ALTA was reviewed by Mendocino County Archaeological Commission at its March 8, 2023 meeting. The survey was expected, and discovery clause has been added as condition of approval. Staff has completed an initial study for the proposed project in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act and determined that the project could have some potential significant impacts on the environment, but can be considered less than significant with mitigation incorporated. As discussed in the initial study, conditions have been identified to mitigate impacts to the environment to a less than significant level, and staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a mitigated negative declaration for the project. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask the commission for any questions for staff, and Commissioner Pollan, do you have a question?
It's not a question, but I just wanted to, I think there was an error in the staff report, and I heard it repeated here again today, and it stated that 570 gallons per day is 0.8 gallons per minute, and it's actually half of that, which is noted in the hydrologist report. But I guess perhaps that 0.8 gallons per minute was supposed to reference the cumulative water draw on the site, including residential uses. So I just for clarity's sake for the public. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Jones?
Oops. Yeah, thank you. I had a couple of questions. So one was, I guess, why 2,500 square feet is the first one, and so explain the mismatch between the size of the building and the cultivation area, and what consequences, if any, to the applicant if they cultivated more than 2,500 square feet in a 5,000 square foot building, and if you know what the rest of the building would be used for. That's one question. And then my other question is, I don't really remember in the ordinance what was the trigger for requiring solar. And I know we had one, but I can't remember how it fell out. So I just wanted to make sure that you did look at that. And then my last comment is under air quality 14. I'm just wondering about qualifying outdoor burning with the term open, and maybe just striking open and just leaving it at outdoor burning, just because I think I'm not sure why we would qualify that in that way. So those were just my questions and comments. Thanks.
And if I may just start, I'll note about the solar that I think you're remembering. That was with that chapter 22.18, which was for discretionary permits for phase 3 cultivation, which had the referendum and then was ultimately repealed by the Board of Supervisors. So that requirement is not in
this.
current code.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. And I'll let Mark respond to the rest.
Okay, Mark Kleiser. So for 5,000 square foot building, I will have to let the applicant speak to that. They are limited to 2,500 square feet per the code, but the building can exceed that size as long as the cultivation site doesn't. And getting to the air quality, can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just wondering why you qualified it as open outdoor burning would be prohibited instead of just outdoor burning, because it seems like you can't have closed outdoor burning, I guess. That to me, it seems like counterintuitive.
Yes, maybe
Yeah.
because traditionally that's how it's been referred to, but yeah, there will be no closed outdoor burning, and burning will occur outside, outdoors.
So no burning would be allowed on the property?
Correct.
Okay, so maybe we could just strike the qualification of open outdoor burning.
I mean, I think that's the term that
Oh, that's
air
what
quality
they use?
management uses, so.
It just seems like a contradicting term
It
to
is,
me.
it is an odd term.
To strike that,
It
okay.
struck me as weird.
All right, any further questions from?
No, that's it for me,
Okay.
thanks.
Commissioner Ramos?
No questions at this time.
All right, I have a couple questions, and for staff. So my question, two of them have to do with, we have setbacks. We have, CDF is asking for a 100-foot clearance setback.
Correct.
Do we have 100 foot around this building? Because it's really identifying, is there 100 foot on front, back, sides? And because I think in the report you said we're not going to clear anything.
Correct.
So do we have 100 feet?
We do not. At points, it might be 100 feet, but at other points, it does come closer than 100 feet. Any tree removal will have to be requested by CAL FIRE.
Right. So the question I have is, what is the setbacks to vegetation right now?
At this time, I don't know the exact number. I know the setbacks to parcel lines.
Say that
I know
last-
the setbacks to parcel lines only. I do not know the setbacks to where the tree line begins.
Right, right, because I Googled this site, and it looks like, and I looked at the site plan map, and it looks pretty close to the trees, so, on a 5,000 square foot building. And that was my one question. It seemed like that was in opposition of what CAL FIRE was asking for.
Well, CAL FIRE may require that trees be removed to meet that 100-foot
Right.
setback.
And not that I necessarily want any trees removed, I'm just saying that seemed to be competing language. And then I'm going to move on to the lighting, right, day lighting, and, or night lighting. And my question is, it kind of reads, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it refers to that there may be a downcast light on timers, and this could be running 24/7.
Potentially, the timers would be on 24/7. I will let the applicant speak to
Okay,
as to whether
and,
those.
and what I'm talking about is the exterior lights, not
Correct.
not the interior lights,
Yes.
right?
And if I may, that is only for security purposes.
I understand, but that if I understand, when you're saying it's only for security purposes, is it for, if they're on for security purposes, 24/7?
They would be motion activated.
Right. Okay. All
So,
right.
so it's really meant so, like a light will flick on if there's somebody walking around the building or
Right.
something like that,
They're
which is
not gonna
something you
be-
see pretty
They're not going to
commonly.
be on all the time just for.
Correct, yeah, they're not
for
just going to be on.
protection.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. All right, just night sky protection. And the other thing I just had on the staff report, I think on page 4, at the bottom of page 4, number 5, in parentheses, is the expiration date June 15? Wouldn't it be 2033?
You're right.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that. We'll make that
Letting
correction.
you know I read this thing.
You're careful.
Yeah. Right. And at this point, let's see. Let me finish mine. Do you know how many parcels are surrounding, that use the road, the Outlaw Springs Road? Do we have a sense of how many parcels use that road?
Yes, I have a parcel map up right here. I'm going to share my screen so you can see this. Okay. Here is the subject parcel outlined in blue. So we have Jackson State to the north and east, and then we have 1, 2, it looks like it abuts approximately 3 parcels.
Okay, thank you. That concludes my questions at this point, and I'm going to refer back to Commissioner Jones for another question for staff.
Sorry, Diana's question prompted me to just think of something, and that is the, I think it's the the west property line that abuts the cultivation facility. It looks like it's showing an 80-foot setback. And if CAL FIRE is requiring, from the property line, and if CAL FIRE is requiring a 100-foot clearance, that would necessitate them clearing trees on the neighboring property, which probably wouldn't be kosher. So I would suggest that one of the conditions require that this building be moved such that there's a 100-foot setback from that property line, just so that there's no issues or no need to come back.
Yes.
If I may, I just want to clarify CAL FIRE's typical requirements. The 100-foot defensible space is not a 100-foot clear zone around a building. It's typically the immediate 30 feet around the building and then a reduction of fuels for the next 70 feet, which can be like your ladder fuels, so brush, things like that. I do want to also know, and I will let you know as well, we do have the chief planner from the cannabis program available on the line today too, if there's any questions related to the cannabis application with their office, or any clarifying questions of what may be required under 10A17. But I do want to note that there is a tree removal prohibition under Chapter 10A17 for any cultivation sites.
So what you're saying is that the 80-foot setback is fine? I'm just confused, sorry.
So the 80-foot setback in my mind should be fine.
Okay.
The applicant will need, when they apply for their building permit, they will get a clearance from CAL FIRE, and then before that building is signed off, they're going to have CAL FIRE come out to do a final inspection, where CAL FIRE will determine if any additional changes need to be made. So the applicant will have to make sure that when they're going in to do the construction, that they are compliant with any standards from CAL FIRE.
And just, can I ask a follow-up question? What is the setback requirement in this zoning district for a facility like this from property lines? Just so I know for the future.
50 feet.
50 feet, okay.
All right.
Chair Wienerman.
Commissioner Pollan, do you have another question?
Well, I just want to make a statement. Again, I think given the fact that this is a building, it might also weigh on the fact of what CAL FIRE is going to care about. So.
Yes. All right. Commissioner Ramos, any questions? So with that, seeing that we don't have any other questions from the commission for staff, may we have the applicant's presentation? Please come up to the mic and state your name.
Noah Shepard. I'm actually not the applicant. I'm the property owner, but I can answer some of the questions that came up about I think Julia actually kind of spoke to it, but the CAL FIRE, 100-foot setback is defensible space. This is actually predominantly a redwood forest, which is, the redwood trees are kind of don't have branches for a long way up, and they're naturally kind of fire retardant, so I don't think they actually have to be removed. Maybe there have to be some pruning or understory taken out to make it defensible. So I think that, I don't think that should be an issue. And as far as the facility size, which was a question was asked, I believe that you have to have additional area in the building for things like storage, ADA bathroom, administrative hold area. So and with any business, if you have a showroom floor, it's not the whole building isn't, like dedicated to just one use. It's to help with all the rest of the operation. So that's why the 5,000 square feet.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hayes, do you want to do a presentation? And state your name, please.
Good afternoon. I'm William Hayes. My wife and I and Noah Shepard are kind of co-applicants on this project.
Mr. Hayes, would you move the microphone closer to your mouth so people that aren't in the room can hear you?
Sure thing. I'm mostly here just to answer questions and to introduce myself. I've been a member of the cannabis community for about 25 years. Before this project, I was cultivating on my home property for pretty close to 20 years. In 2016, when Proposition 64 passed, I was pretty much one of the first people knocking on the door to get my legal permit from the state and from the county. 2018, I received my first indoor cultivation permit from the county. At that time, I was informed by the county, due to their regulations, that my permit would be sunsetted since it didn't meet the acreage. My property didn't meet the acreage requirements to allow cannabis cultivation. So pretty soon after 2018, I began looking for a suitable location to move my operation to, and it took me a good part of 4 to 5 years to find a suitable property that checked all the boxes. It's not a really easy thing to find in this county, a property that meets the zoning requirements, the water requirements, having the open space that won't require the tree removal. It's a pretty long list, and it took me a long time to find this parcel. So I am hoping that after some discussion, we'll be able to move forward with this. I also wanted to add, in the 20 years of cultivating on my personal property at home, all of my neighbors knew about my activities, but I had never gotten a complaint from anyone. Everyone's considered my operation to be respectful, quiet, clean, conscious. I'm going to be having probably 2 to 3 employees that are going to be mostly full-time on this project. In my other project, my other business is I'm a general building contractor, and I'm really serious about hiring good quality people, and we're not going to hire anybody that I wouldn't want to have on my property or around my home or my family. So I think that's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Wait. Just, we'll get to our questions. Yes. Is there any other applicant wishing to speak to this staff report right now? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission, and I will ask Commissioner Jones if we're going to have questions for the applicant. So, Mr. Hayes, bring yourself back up to the mic. And Commissioner Jones?
Sorry for the up and down.
No problem.
I was just curious who would be living in the residential units on the property.
So right now, the owner of the property is renting out the residence, and as I can't speak to who will be there into the future, but I believe the tenants that are existing are planning to continue to be there.
Noah Shepard, the property owner. When I bought the property, it was my intention to...
Mr. Shepard, just because there are people watching online, they can't hear you if you don't speak right into the microphone. Thank you.
I bought the property with the intention of remodeling the house and moving there myself with my family. And it's still probably what I plan to do in the future. I live in Albion. My daughter's going school age and is going to be going to school in Mendocino. It's probably my plan to move there in the next 3 years to the property. It's not 100%, but that's why I bought the property originally.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Commissioner Pollan?
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Ramos?
No questions at this time.
And I think you answered all my questions, Mr. Hayes.
Thank you.
And thank you. And thank you, Mr. Shepherd, too. Okay, let's see. Now, is there any other public comment for this project right now? Please come to the mic, state your name.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, County staff. My name is Michael Katz, Executive Director for the Mendocino Cannabis Alliance, here in support of this permit application. As Mr. Hayes said, he has been a long-standing member of the cannabis community here, and as you all know, it's been a very challenging time for folks. So for someone on the coastal cannabis community to find a proper location that does check all the boxes and be able to maintain that local cannabis business and have full-time employees with the appropriate zoning and all those things, based on the intent of the supervisors to keep as many regulated operators in the market as possible, Mr. Hayes doing everything he can to make this work. We sincerely hope that this commission will pass this. We have seen decimation among the cannabis industry, so when there is somebody who's still interested in investing time, resources, energy into this county, into business in this county right now, it's essential that we as the community support that effort. So seeing that there will not be a significant impact and that the staff has thoroughly reviewed this and any impact can be mitigated, we sincerely hope that this will pass. Mr. Hayes, I did not mention this, but I will. He's also a designated equity applicant, so that means that he has been shown to have suffered disproportionately from the war on drugs. And so the county and the state have indicated a desire to help those folks stay in the regulated program, and passing this will certainly do that for Mr. Hayes. So I certainly hope you guys pass it today. Thank you.
Thank you. And there's I don't see, this one's not for this. Nope, we've heard these. So, seeing that I don't have any other requests to speak from people in the audience, is there anybody in the on Zoom?
There are no members of the public on Zoom to speak.
Okay, seeing that, then I am going to close the public comment. And now I would like staff, if they have any final remarks.
No final remarks.
Do we have any?
Sorry, if I may, there's just one modification to be made to the resolution, the red line resolution that was presented to the commission. And I can share it on my screen if
Yes,
you'd like.
that would be great.
Okay, one moment. And this was in the staff memorandum. It was just that there was missing a date. I'm sorry, go up here real quick. It was the date of when the comments were received from the Mendocino Cannabis Department. So this is on page 2. You'll see right here it just said on date, and so that would be corrected to say April 24th, 2023, and that it noted the project was in full compliance. Otherwise, the rest of the red line resolution remains as recommended.
And did the date get changed to 33?
Let's go to the dates.
33.
So yes, the permit is would be issued for a period of 10 years to expire on June 15th, 2033. If you're referring to this date in number 1 above,
No.
that's the time period to make use of the permit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And seeing staff didn't have anything else to say, I bring it back to the commission. Do we have any other comments on this application? Seeing none, can we, I'm going to ask the commission for, I'm going to close the public hearing, which I already did, but I'm coming back and I'm going to invite a motion from the commission. But, go ahead, one of you, somebody make the motion.
Go ahead. I'd like to make, by resolution, the planning commission adopt a mitigated negative declaration and grant the use permit U_2022-0007 for the project as proposed by the applicant, based on the facts and findings and subject to the conditions of approval and mitigation measures contained in Exhibit A.
And is that the resolution as amended today?
Yes.
Yes, the resolution as
Okay,
amended today. Thank you.
And do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Commissioner Jones seconds. Commissioner Pollan made the motion. And can we have roll call vote?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Pollan,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos,
Yes.
Chair Wiedemann.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, and we're going to take a 5-minute break, just, and we'll resume at 10, let's do 10:10. 10, the Planning Commission will reconvene and continue with our agenda. And do we have any other matters from staff today?
We have one additional agenda item under regular calendar,
Oh, that's
6C.
right. Yes, sorry. That's right. We have the cell tower. Yes. Okay. Agenda 6C, case number UR 2023-0003, renewal of use permit U 16-2008 to allow continued use of an existing telecommunication facilities. I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to address this? Anybody in Zoom?
Should we hear from staff first?
No.
No? I think you might have a funky script again. No?
Yeah, I think the first point on there is to see if there's been any correspondence or telephone
Yeah.
calls received, so.
Yes. So there isn't. Okay, got it. It's written a little differently. So, okay, got it. And can we have staff presentation, please?
Hello, this is Liam Crowley, planning staff. Thank you. So just a little background about this project. This is as was stated, request to renew use permit.
Mr. Kelly, could you put the microphone closer to you?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Is that a little better? Okay. So this is our request to renew use permit U 16-2008 to allow continued use of an existing telecommunication facility. A little bit of background about this project. There was a application that was submitted for modifications to the facility, and it was determined that the underlying use permit had to be renewed prior to those modifications being considered. So that's the purpose for this application before you today. The application for those modifications did qualify under the county's administrative permit process. So I just wanted to note that. And so essentially the administrative permit was placed on hold pending the request to renew the underlying use permit. So as I mentioned, it was originally established under that previous use permit, and subsequent modifications have been made to the facility under previous administrative permits, as is noted in the staff report. And then just a little bit about the site, if you'll give me a moment to share my screen. Let's see here. So this map just shows the general vicinity. This site is in the Talmadge area. It's on an existing agriculturally zoned property. There's row crops surrounding what is I believe it's around a 5,000 square foot leased facility. You can see in the northeast where the facility is located. So the project was referred to relevant agencies on March 15th of 2023. No critical comments were received from any of these agencies, and continued use of the facility was found to be consistent with the general plan and zoning of the site. And in addition, the county wireless communication facility guidelines, as well as the past approvals, including the original use permit and the subsequent administrative permits. In addition, staff found that the requisite use permit findings, as I think you saw before with Mark's presentation from Chapter 20.196 of the County Code, can be met for this project as well. And it was determined that the project is exempt from further SEQA review under the existing facilities exemption. So staff is recommending approval of the renewal with the conditions that are in the resolution. The conditions are mostly standard conditions with the addition of, let me find it here, I believe it's Condition 9, which is requesting that the applicant provide an updated irrevocable letter of credit, bond, certificate of deposit, or other reasonable form of security that is sufficient to fund the removal of the facility if it's abandoned by the applicant, or if they fail to comply with the requirements for removal of the facilities. So with that, as I mentioned, staff is just recommending approval per the resolution. And that's all I have. I believe we have a representative from the agent online on Zoom, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So do I have any commissioners for questions to staff? Seeing none, then I'm going to have the applicant presentation. Are they available?
They are on Zoom.
All right. May we invite them to speak?
Hello, my name is Tracy Malone, and I'm from Falcon Foster, and we're seeking this use renewal for this facility that's been operational since about 2008. I don't have very much more to add than what staff was able to disclose to you today. I am available for questions. There have been several upgrades on this antenna facility. Antennas and equipment have been upgraded in the past. The most recent being 2019. There were 2 upgrades to this facility. We are seeking just to modernize, as is just a regular course of business, to modernize antennas and equipment here. I'm available for questions, and I do appreciate the opportunity to be heard and the staff comments.
Thank you. And do we have anybody else in for the applicant to speak in Zoom? I don't see any. All right. With that, I invite the commissioners if you have any questions for the applicant at this time. Seeing none, then I'm going to ask staff if you have any final remarks.
None for me. Thank you.
And the applicant, do you have any final remarks?
And pardon me, Chair Wiedemann, if we could just, well, I know we have a limited public attending, if we could just call for public comment, that would be appreciated.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Seeing no public comment, okay. And that we have no final staff remarks. And it doesn't appear we have any applicant final remarks. I'm going to close the public hearing, and I will ask the commission for a motion.
This one isn't my district. I move that we approve by resolution use permit renewal UR_2023-0003 based on the facts and findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in the attached Exhibit A.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pollan?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Chair Wiedemann?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Right. And now we can go to item number 7, matters from staff.
Thank you. Julia Krog, Planning and Building Services Director. So first off, I want to remind the commission that your meeting July 6th will be your new start time of 9:30 a.m. So that is on the public notices. So I just want to remind you, while of course you're welcome to show up early, that your start time is actually at 9:30. So that'll be the first meeting being held that way, and that'll be through the October date that we had previously discussed. And then secondarily, this is going to be a bit of a shift for Planning Commission packets going forward. So the department and the county in general is really seeking to move to a more digitized process. So the department intends to no longer send printed packets to the commissioners. Now, if there is, like say there's a subdivision and you would like to have a copy of the tentative map available here on the day or something along those lines, please make those requests to staff in advance of the hearing, and we'll make sure that we have it available to you here. But otherwise, what you will get will be an agenda distribution email from our administrative staff, and that will be your notice that the packets are available online for your viewing and download. Is there any questions or concerns with that?
No, that's pretty straightforward.
Yes, and again, like I said, if you do require any printed copies, just please reach out to us. We're happy to accommodate. We just, as you see by the size of the packets that arrive, it's a lot of paper that's being sent out and really trying to move to a more digitized process.
All right. Did you have anything else on?
That's it for me. Thank you.
I had one question, and I'll open it up back to the fellow commissioners. Last time we asked you about the ordinances, and you said you might be getting them soon. Did you get them?
I have not received them yet. However, I did get correspondence from the consulting firm last week that they were expecting to have them in our inbox this week. I have not yet received it. I know it is Thursday, but there still is a chance that that could be received this week. And of course, I can always send a note to the commissioners if you just would like to know when we have our second administrative draft, and that way you know where we're at in the process.
That'd be great.
Okay, great.
And Commissioner Jones?
I have just one suggestion, and I think the use permit renewal process for cell phones was maybe appropriate for like the 80s when people were freaked out about them, but it feels a little bit like extra work for staff to do a renewal process for use permits. And so I would just encourage you to consider changing your zoning ordinance so that's no longer required, because I don't know about other commissioners, but it feels a little bit like a thing for a past decade.
Thank you for that comment, and I think it's a little bit broader than just the zoning regulations, because we do have the wireless guidelines as well that really specified a 10-year term date on those use permits. But certainly I know that this conversation is not a new conversation, so I appreciate those comments.
Any other questions or ideas or thoughts for staff? Seeing none, okay, and no more info from staff. Is there any other matters from the commission that we want to bring forward? No matters from the commission today. And with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Voice vote. Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye.
What you did was fine. I know. Thank you.